I'm Jeff with Precision Replacement Parts. I'm here with Greg today. We're going to show you how to install a VWK 2110-66. Greg, what is it? What's the fit?
This is a vent window rebuild kit. Fits a 1966 to 1977 Ford Bronco.
Now there's enough in this kit to do both doors, so check our website for complete make, model, year information. Let's get started.
These are the tools you need for this project.
This is our R&D door. Obviously it's missing some parts here, the window crank, the door panel. Those are things you're gonna have to take off on your vehicle. But as I said, this is our trusty R&D door. We don't have those parts. First thing you're gonna do though is take off the belt lines. All right, even though this is our R&D door, we went on ahead and taped off the door to protect the paint, which we would suggest you guys doing at home. Now Greg's gonna go ahead, take the Weatherstrip installation tool, and what he's doing is pulling the belt away from the body and kind of lifting up on it a little bit. What this does is releases the clip from the hole in the actual door itself. Same thing for the outer belt line here. We're gonna go ahead and take glass runs out now. The first one we're gonna do is the upper and the back is one piece. Greg's gonna go ahead with the Weatherstrip installation tool and kind of pry it down. And it's gonna pull it out, and then up. And then we're gonna go ahead and remove the glass runs that are in the door. All right, Greg's gonna work on the bolts on the back bracket. I'm gonna go ahead and put the window up.
Grab that bracket.
So I'm reaching in and grabbing the bracket. And then it's simply remove it. And since these are our R&D doors here, these parts are our prototypes, they're new. Yours are gonna look a lot worse. So we're gonna repeat the process basically on the front. There's two bolts here, one here, one on the bottom. Again, you'll notice we have Allen wrench bolts here because it's R&D door. We didn't have those bolts. You'll have to reuse yours. Same thing here. Let's kind of lift it sideways, turn it. Then you're ready for the next step. So the glass runs all the way, door glass is all the way down. Now go ahead, kind of make sure it's all the way back. Now this may cause it to fall off the regulator, not a big deal. We'll address how to put that back on when we reinstall the vent later. One bolt here, 4 screws along the pillar, and you can pull it right out. Okay, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna just pull straight back here. Now yours might be really crusted in, but this one should come out pretty easy. So I'm pulling straight back. We got it out. You see, it's a short glass run here. Short glass run here, and we're ready to rebuild the vent. All right, now it's out of the door. We went ahead and cleaned up the nut a little bit, lubed it up so we can break it loose. The other thing you'll have to do is take out the 2 screws here. This will allow you to take the glass out of the frame without drilling out this rivet. Once the glass is out, we'll be able to remove this part of the gasket and then drill out the rivets that hold the division bar in. Special note here is there's a washer sequence which will show you when we put it back together, but note there is a special sequence for this. All right, we changed the angle here to show you what you really need to do. I have a grate hole on one side of the vent. I'm going to take my needle nose here. I'm going to grab the washer and I'm just going to rotate it, as you can kind of see here, as he's trying to pull it out a little bit. And just keep working it back and forth until it breaks loose. Oops. There you go. All right, it should be good. Okay, so I bring this out, washer, plastic, and the metal one. So I have everything that we took off here lined up to show you how to put it, kind of how it goes together. This is a critical step when you're reassembling. First thing you notice is these are not round holes. They have to line up with a stud when you slide them on. Second is that this piece is not actually round. It has a flat section here. And what that does, it goes toward the front of the vent, and it allows you to only open the vent to a certain angle like it was before. And then you notice this plastic one was destroyed, but that goes between this washer and the frame, and then the spring, and then the nut. Next step is to take out the actual weather strip here. We go ahead and use our weather strip installation tool. This is just a friction fit in here. It's been together for quite some time, but we should be able to get behind it here, kind of work it out. Once you got it started, it'll come out pretty easy. Next up is going to remove this actual glass run that's right here. This will give us access to the rivets that hold in the division bar seal on this other side. One thing you'll notice is that our part does not have the alignment tab as the OEM. And we'll show you when you put everything back together that it'll fit fine and you won't need it. I've got Greg, he's going to hold the vent assembly for me here while I keep prying on it. A little extra leverage here. Like I said, this is stuck in there. These are going to be tight to get out, so I'm going to come back this way as well and kind of keep prying it. So I'm pulling with my hand and I'm prying with a screwdriver. Okay, I'll slide it this way a little bit. There we go. Thank you. Okay, some more. Okay. All right, next step is we're going to drill out the rivets. We're holding it down here. I'll grab them up. So this will allow us to pull off that vent weather strip, and if need be, we'll just punch out the rivets, anything left in the holes, and we'll be ready to reinstall the new weather stripping. Went ahead and started putting the weather strip into the actual frame. Now these weather strips are left-hand and right-hand specific. You'll notice there's a cutout right here for the hinge that we got to put back on. That's not one way you can tell left to right. I got it into the frame here and I got it tight against the division post. That's critical to get that tight in there. And I'm going to show you one of the best techniques we've learned to put these in. And what we found that worked pretty well with these is that we're going to put the one side in, which you can kind of see right here, of the gasket into this track. And then we're going to flip it over and we're going to use a weather strip installation tool to put the other side in. So we're going to come up here. Make sure you get it in, and you'll notice because the rubber is all the way to the edge of the metal frame. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to take my stick, and you can see here that isn't quite in. I'm going to take my stick, push it in, I make sure with my fingers I got it in, and I'm going to keep working my way down here. And again, you can see how close the edge is to the frame here. Then you know you have it fully seated. And I'm going to keep on working down the channel here until I have it all the way in. So we've been working our way down here, got it fully seated. We're coming into the corner, and the corner can be a little more tricky, but you're going to use the same process here. I'm going to hook the one side and make sure it's all the way in. And if you have a little bit of trouble, you can take your Weatherstrip installation tool and kind of come in from in here and then push it in as well. Let's flip her over and see what I got here. So I'm going to get down here. When I lift this up, you can kind of see I'm not quite all the way in there. So this is where it's going to take a little more finesse here to get this in. Again, I'm going to use my Weatherstrip installation tool and kind of work it in. Now this is going to be critical to make sure you get it in fully seated in the corner. That'll ensure proper sealing when you actually have the vent glass back in, and it'll make sure everything lines up as you work your way down. All right, it's got a little bit to finish up here toward the back. Okay, now one thing we're going to show you here, you can take your screwdriver and we're going to go through the hole here and make sure the hole in the gasket lines up with the hole here. That'll make sure that the stud on the window frame is going to fit good. If you're off a little bit here, you're going to have to move the gasket a little bit one way or the other so it lines up.
The next step is to attach the division post seal to the main frame. We will be using this semi-tubular rivet, which we will insert through the glass run channel side of the main frame, and then we will be peening it over. All right, so we have a piece of steel stock set up here. I have a narrower piece of round steel to support the rivet during the peening process. Now what I'm going to do is bring the main frame with the division post seal in place right over the top of the rivet. So the peening section here is protruding through. Now we will take our peening tool, place it over the top of the rivet, Making sure we get it centered. And we peen the rivet in place. We've got our next one set up. We'll go ahead, repeat the process. Now we'll finish with the rest of them.
All right, next up is to get the glass run into the actual frame here. So what we have is a new glass run on the hard surface and the frame on top of it. We're going to push down and it's going to seat right into it. We're going to kind of work our way back. Then to make sure that it's fully seated. As you can see, the bead is lined up perfectly with the actual division post. Already put the glass frame back into the actual frame here. The washer's laid out. It's the metal one, plastic, metal, spring, and nut. Now you have to line up, these holes aren't round with the stud as you go through. So I have Greg helping me here. He's going to start threading it through. Come forward, okay. Alright, big pusher.
You grab the end of the glass. You drive down here. There.
Alright, got her in. Now next is plastic again. And again, this one isn't round, so we're going to get on here. Then a spring and a nut. I'm just going to go finger tight on this until we can get the hinge back on here. So I have the holes lined up on the hinge here. Go ahead and get these started. So I'm going to go ahead and put some tension on this nut here. You don't want it too tight, but you want it kind of snugged up. And the reason is, it's going to control when you open the window and you're driving. That tension is what keeps this window from closing on you while you're driving. And it also makes sure that you want it, slowly closing. Now we're going to lock it back up. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to look for any light gaps here. Now, if something's not quite fitting right, a lot of times when you put it back in the truck and put the screws in and it'll square it back up, you won't see any more light. If you still see some light, you'll have to take it back out and make some adjustments. It can be the hinge here, it can be the tension on here, it could be the gasket not quite seated all the way. Those are kind of things you'll have to look out for. All right, we're going to go ahead, put the vent back in. Now, it's kind of tough to put in. The things that you need to know: we're going to put some lube up, Weatherstrip lubrication here on the front to help it kind of slide in. Greg's going to keep the glass, the door glass, in the channel right here at all times. Now, if it comes off the regulator, that's okay. We'll show you how to put that back in after we're done. All right, Greg, let's get her in. Gonna line it up here. Looks like Greg's watching the glass right there and kind of pushing forward. I'm pushing down. Okay, important note here, as we noted before, you make sure that the gasket's untucked. So we're gonna lift it up a little bit here. Try to get this. One trick you can do as you're trying to untuck it here is open up the vent window. That'll allow you to pull it with your hands a little bit and get a little more space in here. Kind of work it. Okay, now we got it all untucked. We'll close the window back up and we'll start putting the bolts and screws in, making sure everything lines up. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put the screws in here. Okay, now with all the screws in, I'm going to go ahead and open and close the window. Now it's going to be a little tighter than it was before. You have a new seal in it. Make sure it's the tension you want, nice and tight here when you close it. Again, this is where I'm going to look. Make sure I don't have any gaps where I don't want gaps at all. And this one seals up really good. We can continue reassembling the door.
As we mentioned before, if your door glass does come off the regulator, what has happened is this roller on the scissors arm has come out of this track. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower both down inside the door. The regulator is rolled all the way down to the bottom. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the door glass over the top of the regulator roller. And roll it up until it hits the bottom of the door glass. And then that wheel enters into that track.
All right, so I went ahead, used Phillips head screwdriver, and transfer this L bracket from the old glass run to the new one. Now we're going to put this in the door, and as we showed before, this glass run that we put in here is going to slide in right here. This hole is going to go line up there, and this one is going to line up there. So we're going to go ahead and put it in the door here. Now, being our R&D door, we're going to use just an Allen head bolt because we no longer have this one. But you need to reuse your proper hardware. And line up the hole down here. Now I'm just gonna kind of get them finger tight so it has a little bit of adjustability left in it, so we can put the back one in. We're gonna go ahead and put the rear bracket in. Same thing, these holes are gonna line up with the holes in the back of the door. And being our RD door, we're just gonna use some Allen head bolts that we have lying around. You're gonna need to reuse the bolts from your door. Let's go in here. And again, I'm just getting them finger tight so we can have a little bit of adjustment. I'm gonna go ahead and put the glass run in. I'm gonna put it in the back first. I'm gonna push it down until I hit the channel that we put in the bottom door. Greg's gonna watch the front end for me so we don't scratch anything. Now hit the stop. We're gonna come this way. Now this is a friction fit, so you don't need any adhesive. You could use a little adhesive if you want in a few spots if you would like to, but it's not gonna be required. I'm gonna push it up here. Lock it in the channel. And you can use the Weatherstrip installation tool here to help get it in there, because the chrome bead should sit flush with the body. Now Greg's going to kind of put the front in. Got it. Okay, now we're gonna make sure this is in here, right? Go ahead and roll the window up. Rolling the window up will also help seat everything together. Now we're going to go back and we're going to do the final adjustments on the brackets down here. So we'll roll the window about halfway down. Alright, now we got the upper glass run in. We got the door about halfway down. We're going to use that to help center the glass front brackets we put here, because we finger tightened them before. Now we're just going to go ahead and tighten them down. Now there's going to be, the belt lines are similar left to right, but there's a cutout area here, and that's going to go behind the vent window on both the inner and the outer. As you can see, Greg has the part tilted upside down, but we're showing you that these clips will line up with these holes, and that's what holds it together. All right, Greg. Okay, now for the inner. It's the exact same way as we did the outer, but this time we're going to show you that you need to remove the liner of the tape, which we did on the outer. This is so you can see a little bit better. Same way here, Greg is going to push it forward into the vent until that front clip lines up with that front hole. And this one will go behind the glass run. Right now we got the belt lines fully seated. We're going to go ahead and cycle the glass up and down to make sure everything fits correctly. Okay, everything looks to line up. Okay, bring it back down, Greg. Everything's working good, and you're done.